one of our cultists reminded me about the Barge People, which I had not seen yet. So I watched the trailer again and decided to take the chance and rent it for $3 on Amazon. Mainly because the basic plot is the same as a storyline I used in one of my books a couple years ago. My version had the Esoteric Order of Dagon sending out deep ones to attack their enemies, and they used the city's canals to move around undetected. In the Barge People, it gives the impression that it is fishmen attacking a group of vacationers along the canals of the UK. Not the most original idea, but definitely a unique setting. Since this is the YouTube channel for the First United Church of Cthulhu, I'll go ahead and cover that aspect of it first. Now, the fishman mask they use is very popular in the haunt industry, and one was actually used for a 3-second shot in the film The Deep Ones, which is a modern retelling of the Shadow Over Innsmouth, which you can click away now and go watch our review of that film if you want, because there's absolutely nothing else remotely Lovecraftian about this film. It's more along the lines of The Hills Have Eyes, only set on the British canals. So for those that are sticking around, let me tell you about it. The canals cross most of the country and cover almost 4,000 miles, but they are very narrow. So much so that the canal boats which people use are actually called narrowboats. They are not barges. Normal barges are way too big to even fit in these canals, so calling it the Barge People is totally inaccurate. Since it is very much a throwback to the heyday of 80s video rentals, they should have gone with a title like Canals of Blood or something along those lines. And it does open up with some great retro horror synth music, but sadly they don't use it again until the end credits. But the rest of the film's score is excellent. So it's your basic premise of city folks vacationing in the countryside, along the canals in a narrowboat, and they meet the mutant cannibalistic hillbillies. And even though it's filmed in Britain, it is very, very American in its plot and execution. It actually follows the Killer Hillbilly style beat for beat, and because of that, there is nothing original in this film at all except for the canal setting. And it was hard to tell exactly how many of the Barge People there were, because they kept getting stabbed and beaten over the head with frying pans and weird white blood spewed out of them, or maybe it was just plain water with the light hitting it, but I don't think any of them actually died. Because they didn't have any full-body monster costumes, it was just Halloween masks and trench coats. So running around in the dark, they all looked very similar. Not to spoil it for you too much, but they only had one fish man, then a rat man, then a kinda scaly mutant mask which looked like it had a honeycomb pattern on the side of its head, and then another mutant mask which was a ripoff from the Goosebumps episode, The Haunted Mask. So it seemed like there was a bunch of them, but I think it was just the same 4 characters and none of them ever died. There is this one great shot of the fishman coming up out of the water, but that's the only time anyone is ever actually in the water, and that is where they really missed an opportunity to put a little originality into the film. But knowing that there would be comparisons to similar 80s films, they didn't just double down on it, they tripled down on it. Their origins are in no way cult or supernatural oriented, but they give 3 possible reasons for how they became the Barge People, and all 3 of them are so 80s. And there is a cool little "there is no God" speech at the end. But the film is shot and put together very well. I know a lot of people whose favorite film is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they love anything in the killer hillbilly subgenre. Despite the negative points I've stated here, if you are the kind of person who likes this type of film, if you've watched and loved all 7 of the Wrong Turn films, I only thought there was 3. If your hills can never have enough eyes, then you will enjoy the Barge People. And as an added bonus, you might want to check out a YouTube channel called Cruising the Cut. It's the real life story of a British TV announcer who quit his job, bought a narrowboat, and now lives on those canals. His videos are weirdly calming as he narrates his voyages. So be sure to subscribe for more horror, occult, and Lovecraft madness. Until next time, Cthulhu for Dagon.